Stop what you're doing right now. Seriously. If you're sitting in a room, scrolling, or stuck in a conversation that drains you, it's time to wake up, because you might be wasting your life in 7 places that are quietly stealing your energy. By the end of this talk, you'll know exactly where to walk away from and why doing so could be the single most powerful decision you make this year. Here's the thing. Most people stay in situations out of comfort, fear, or guilt. And while it feels safe, every second you linger, you lose a piece of yourself. Imagine walking into a room every day where no one believes in you, or working a job that crushes your soul, or scrolling endlessly through social media that makes you feel worse about yourself. Feels heavy, right? That's exactly why you need to know the 7 places you must leave immediately. Toxic relationships are some of the most draining forces we can face, yet they are also some of the hardest to recognize and walk away from. They don't always show themselves as blatant abuse or constant conflict. Often, they start subtly with small criticisms, dismissive behavior, or a consistent lack of support. Over time, these patterns chip away at your confidence, your energy, and even your sense of self. You might find yourself constantly second-guessing your choices, apologizing for things that aren't your fault, or feeling exhausted after interactions that should feel uplifting. The danger lies in the slow erosion, because at first it's easy to rationalize someone's negativity, blame their mood swings on stress, or tell yourself that things will get better. But if someone repeatedly undermines you, belittles your goals, or leaves you feeling worse about yourself, that's not normal. It's toxic. Walking away from these relationships is not a failure on your part, nor a judgment on their character. It's an act of self-preservation. Many people struggle with this because they confuse loyalty or history with obligation. They hold on to memories of better times, or they fear the guilt of leaving someone behind. But staying in these relationships often costs more than we realize. Our mental health, our emotional clarity, and our ability to pursue the life we truly want. It's also worth noting that toxicity doesn't always manifest through anger or aggression. It can appear as constant negativity, jealousy, manipulation, or even passive aggressiveness, where someone subtly pressures you to conform to their expectations or drains your energy without ever raising their voice. Recognizing these patterns requires honesty and courage. It means acknowledging that your well-being matters as much as anyone else's, and that protecting your energy is not selfish. Walking away allows you to reclaim time, energy, and mental space for people who truly support and uplift you, for goals that excite you, and for the kind of life where your confidence and happiness aren't constantly compromised. It can be frightening, especially if the relationship has been long-standing, but the relief and freedom that follow are profound. Toxic relationships can cloud judgment and distort self-perception, and removing yourself from them is often the first step toward clarity, empowerment, and growth. A dead-end job is far more than just a role you tolerate. It's a place that quietly saps your ambition, creativity, and potential over time. At first, it may seem convenient, steady paychecks, predictable hours, and a sense of security, but the cost is hidden in the slow erosion of your growth and fulfillment. In a dead-end job, there's little room to learn new skills, advance your career, or take on meaningful challenges. Your ideas may go unheard, your effort unrecognized, and your contributions undervalued. The danger is that it feels normal because you've become accustomed to it, and that comfort creates a trap. You start convincing yourself that advancement is impossible or that leaving is too risky, and before you know it, years pass with little progress toward your goals. Dead-end jobs can also affect your self-esteem. When you consistently perform without acknowledgement or face constant stagnation, you may begin to internalize a sense of limitation, questioning your abilities and doubting whether you're capable of more. This is often compounded by a culture of resignation, where coworkers have adopted the same mindset and reinforce the idea that ambition is futile or unnecessary. Even outside work, the effects spill over. You might feel drained when you come home, lose enthusiasm for personal projects, and struggle to envision a future where you are thriving rather than just surviving. Recognizing a dead-end job requires honesty and observation. If you notice repeated patterns of missed promotions, lack of meaningful responsibility, or leadership that disregards growth, it's a clear signal that your potential is being wasted. Walking away doesn't mean you fail or that you're reckless. It's a decision to invest in yourself and your future. It's about seeking environments where your skills are valued, where challenges inspire you, and where learning and advancement are possible. Leaving can feel daunting because of uncertainty, fear, or financial concerns, but staying indefinitely has its own invisible costs: time, energy, motivation, and self-worth. Choosing to step away allows you to reclaim control over your career trajectory, align your work with your ambitions, and surround yourself with opportunities that push you toward growth, fulfillment, and purpose. In essence, leaving a dead-end job is a conscious act of prioritizing your potential, refusing to let circumstances dictate your limits, and giving yourself permission to step into work that excites and energizes you rather than diminishes your spirit. Unhealthy friendships are often overlooked because they don't always appear as outright conflict or hostility, yet their impact can be just as damaging as any toxic relationship. These are the friends who constantly take more than they give, who make you feel small, or who thrive on negativity and drama. At first, you may brush it off, telling yourself that every friendship has ups and downs, or that people are going through their own struggles. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. Unhealthy friends drain your energy, undermine your confidence, and make you question your choices. Conversations with them may leave you feeling exhausted, anxious, or even guilty for simply being yourself. Unlike toxic relationships with overt abuse, unhealthy friendships often disguise themselves with humor, charm, or shared memories, making it difficult to recognize the subtle erosion of your well-being. They may gossip, manipulate, or compete with you under the guise of concern or jest. And yet, because of the history or emotional attachment, you feel obligated to tolerate it. These friendships can also stunt your personal growth, as people who are consistently negative or dismissive may discourage you from pursuing new opportunities, taking risks, or stepping outside of your comfort zone. They can shape your mindset, your behavior, and even your self-perception without you noticing, quietly instilling doubt or limiting beliefs. Recognizing the problem requires honesty and self-reflection. Ask yourself whether you feel lighter or heavier after spending time with them, whether your accomplishments are celebrated or downplayed, and whether your presence is valued or merely tolerated. Walking away from unhealthy friendships is not betrayal. It's an act of self-respect and self-preservation. It's about choosing to surround yourself with people who lift you up, challenge you positively, and support your growth rather than drain your spirit. Ending these relationships can be uncomfortable, especially when they are long-standing, but the freedom it brings is immense. You reclaim time, energy, and emotional space for friendships that are mutually nourishing and empowering. Unhealthy friendships can disguise themselves as loyalty, history, or familiarity, yet recognizing and stepping away from them is essential for mental clarity, confidence, and the pursuit of meaningful connections that actually contribute to your happiness, your growth, and your sense of self-worth. Dangerous environments are spaces where your physical safety, emotional stability, or overall well-being is constantly at risk, and yet many people remain in them far longer than they should because of fear, familiarity, or denial. These environments don't always have to be overtly violent or extreme. They can be subtle, like communities where aggression, crime, or hostility is normalized, or workplaces where harassment, intimidation, or extreme pressure is routine. Even social circles or living situations can become dangerous if negativity, manipulation, or emotional abuse dominates daily life. The danger in staying is cumulative. Every day spent in such an environment chips away at your sense of security, confidence, and inner peace. You may feel constantly on edge, exhausted from vigilance, or desensitized to stress, making it harder to recognize just how harmful the environment is over time. People often stay in dangerous environments because they rationalize it. They convince themselves it's temporary, that change is too difficult, or that they don't have other options. Yet, each moment you remain, you risk more than discomfort. You risk accidents, trauma, and long-term psychological effects that can shape your behavior, choices, and perception of the world. Recognizing the need to leave requires courage and honesty. Ask yourself whether the space you occupy consistently leaves you anxious, fearful, or diminished, or whether it fosters growth, safety, and confidence. If the former is true, the decision to walk away is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Leaving a dangerous environment doesn't always mean dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it's quietly planning your exit, setting boundaries, or removing yourself from situations that compromise your safety. The act of leaving allows you to reclaim control over your life and your peace of mind, giving yourself the freedom to thrive instead of merely survive. While stepping away can feel risky or uncertain, the cost of staying, whether it's your health, self-esteem, or future opportunities, is far greater. Danger rarely announces itself loudly. It often hides in patterns of stress, neglect, or subtle hostility. Recognizing it, acknowledging its impact, and taking decisive action to remove yourself is an empowering choice that affirms your value, protects your potential, and lays the foundation for a life where safety, clarity, and personal growth are not optional, but central to how you live each day. If you're recognizing even one of these in your life right now, pause. Comment below which one you're ready to walk away from and commit. I promise, taking that first step will feel like reclaiming your freedom. Negative mindsets are some of the most insidious spaces we can inhabit because they don't exist in the outside world. They exist in the way we think, the way others influence us, and the environments we choose to spend time in. These are the places where pessimism, doubt, and fear dominate, where every idea is met with criticism before possibility, where complaining is a habit and hope feels like a threat. Being surrounded by negative mindsets, whether in workplaces, social circles, or even in our own inner dialogue, slowly erodes confidence, creativity, and motivation. You start to second-guess yourself constantly, dismiss opportunities before they even appear, and settle for less than you're capable of achieving. Negative mindsets can be contagious. Humans are wired to pick up on energy, and when a culture of doubt and fear is prevalent, it's easy to adopt it unconsciously. Over time, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You stop taking risks, stop challenging yourself, and limit your own potential because the mindset around you has convinced you it's safer to stay small. Recognizing the presence of a negative mindset requires awareness. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time in certain spaces or around certain people. Do you feel drained, frustrated, or hopeless? Are you making excuses for why change isn't possible? Do you hesitate to pursue your goals because someone's constant negativity has made you doubt your worth? If the answer is yes, it's a sign that the environment or the mindset you're absorbing is toxic. Walking away from negative mindsets doesn't always mean cutting people off completely. Sometimes it means creating boundaries, reducing exposure to draining influences, or consciously choosing perspectives that empower rather than limit. It also requires actively cultivating positivity, resilience, and critical thinking in your own mind so that you are less affected by the negativity around you. Leaving these spaces opens the door to opportunities, relationships, and environments that inspire action, creativity, and growth. The more time spent in negative mindsets, the more potential is wasted on fear, doubt, and worry rather than action and fulfillment. Choosing to walk away is about taking ownership of your mental and emotional space, refusing to allow external pessimism to dictate your reality, and stepping into a world where your thoughts, energy, and focus are aligned with growth, possibility, and a sense of purpose. Unfulfilling routines are one of the quietest traps in life because they disguise themselves as stability or productivity, but in reality, they keep you stagnant. Every day feels familiar, predictable, and safe, yet beneath that comfort lies a slow erosion of your ambition, creativity, and excitement for life. These routines might involve going through the motions at work without purpose, repeating the same patterns in relationships that bring little joy, or engaging in habits that occupy your time but don't feed your growth. Over time, they create a sense of dissatisfaction that is hard to pinpoint because it feels like life itself is just happening to you rather than being shaped by you. The danger is that routines can lull you into believing that change is too difficult, that taking risks is unnecessary, or that settling is acceptable. You may find yourself wishing for more but simultaneously feeling trapped because the predictability of your days feels like a safety net. Recognizing an unfulfilling routine requires self-awareness. Notice if you feel bored, restless, or emotionally flat when looking at your daily life. Ask yourself whether your actions are moving you closer to your goals or simply maintaining the status quo. Walking away from unfulfilling routines doesn't mean abandoning all structure. It means consciously redesigning your life to include growth, challenge, and purpose. It might involve trying new experiences, setting higher goals, or breaking habits that no longer serve you. Escaping these routines allows you to reclaim your energy, creativity, and sense of possibility, replacing monotony with intentionality. Every moment spent in routines that don't align with your growth is a moment that could have been invested in building skills, relationships, or experiences that truly matter. Recognizing the trap and stepping out is one of the most powerful ways to regain control over your life and reignite passion for what you do and who you become. Overbearing digital spaces are some of the most invisible yet powerful forces that can drain your energy and steal your focus. They are not just about social media or endless scrolling. They are any online or digital environment that consistently leaves you feeling anxious, inadequate, or distracted. These spaces can be social media feeds that trigger comparison, fear, or envy, apps that demand constant attention, online communities filled with negativity or conflict, or even group chats where drama is constant and constructive conversation is rare. At first, it may feel harmless, checking notifications, staying updated, or connecting with friends, but over time, the effect is cumulative. You might notice yourself comparing your life to curated images online, feeling like you're not achieving enough, or getting drawn into arguments that leave you frustrated, stressed, or angry. These spaces exploit our attention, often giving the illusion of connection or productivity while slowly eroding mental clarity and emotional well-being. The danger is that they become addictive because they tap into our desire for validation and the fear of missing out, creating cycles of distraction and self-doubt. Recognizing the impact of overbearing digital spaces requires honesty. Notice how you feel after spending time online. Do you feel energized, informed, or inspired? Or do you feel depleted, anxious, or frustrated? Do these digital habits support your goals, relationships, or personal growth? Or do they consume time you could invest in meaningful work, real-world connections, or self-care? Walking away doesn't necessarily mean quitting technology completely. It means setting boundaries, curating what you consume, and actively choosing digital spaces that serve rather than drain you. It might involve unfollowing accounts that trigger negativity, muting notifications, limiting screen time, or stepping away from communities that thrive on conflict or judgment. Leaving these overbearing digital spaces allows you to reclaim your focus, mental energy, and emotional balance. It creates room for real-world experiences, deep work, creativity, and authentic connections. By intentionally managing your digital environment, you regain control over your attention and the narrative of your life, refusing to let algorithms, constant updates, or other people's curated realities dictate your emotions, choices, or sense of self-worth. Self-sabotaging habits are one of the most overlooked yet destructive places we can inhabit, because unlike external forces, they exist within ourselves. They are the patterns of thought, behavior, and decision-making that consistently prevent us from achieving our goals, reaching our potential, or living in alignment with our values. These habits can appear in countless forms: procrastination that delays progress, perfectionism that paralyzes action, negative self-talk that erodes confidence, or fear that convinces us to settle for less than we deserve. Unlike external challenges, self-sabotage often feels comfortable or familiar because it has been reinforced over time, and confronting it requires honesty and courage. The danger is subtle but profound. Every moment spent giving in to self-sabotaging habits is a moment lost to doubt, fear, or distraction, and it slowly convinces you that you are incapable of more. Many people fail to recognize these patterns because they disguise themselves as caution, discipline, or humility, but in reality, they keep you stuck in cycles of frustration and unfulfilled potential. Recognizing self-sabotaging habits requires deep self-awareness. You must observe where your thoughts or actions are consistently working against your own interests. Are you avoiding opportunities because of fear of failure? Are you repeating behaviors that undermine your health, relationships, or career? Are you holding back from pursuing what excites you because of guilt, doubt, or indecision? Once identified, walking away from these habits is not simply about stopping them. It's about actively replacing them with intentional practices that support growth, self-respect, and purpose. This might mean setting boundaries with yourself, creating new routines, seeking accountability, or reframing your mindset to prioritize action over fear. Stepping away from self-sabotage opens the door to clarity, energy, and momentum. It allows you to finally act on your ambitions, embrace opportunities, and cultivate a sense of empowerment that comes from knowing you are your own ally rather than your own obstacle. Self-sabotaging habits are often the last and hardest place to leave because they live inside us. But doing so transforms not only the way you pursue goals, but the way you see yourself, your capacity, and the life you are capable of creating. The truth is, life doesn't improve by chance, it improves by choice. Every moment you spend in a place, a mindset, or a habit that drains you is a moment you'll never get back. And every second you stay where you're not valued, not challenged, or not safe is a second stolen from the person you could become. Walking away is not a sign of weakness or giving up. It is a declaration that your time, energy, and potential matter. It's a refusal to let fear, comfort, or obligation dictate the course of your life. When you leave toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, unhealthy friendships, dangerous environments, negative mindsets, unfulfilling routines, overbearing digital spaces, and self-sabotaging habits, you create space for growth, for clarity, for purpose, and for the kind of life that excites you rather than drains you. Every step away is a step toward freedom, empowerment, and self-respect. It is in the courage to walk away that you reclaim control over your story, and it is in that freedom that you find the energy and clarity to pursue what truly matters. So look at your life right now, identify the places, people, and habits that are holding you back, and take the first step to leave them behind. Your future, your potential, and your happiness are waiting on the other side, and they are worth every ounce of courage it takes to walk away.